The space station hung like a silver jewel in the dark void, orbiting the lavender clouds of planet Kalira. Its metal walls hummed with the energy of thousands of lives, humans, aliens, and travelers from distant stars. The corridors were alive with chatter, the squeak of maintenance bots and the occasional blare of announcement horns. Yet despite the daily bustle, the central plaza today was different. Crowds had gathered, and all eyes were fixed on the raised platform at the heart of the station. On the platform, the tension was thick enough to feel a quiet storm of anticipation. Princess Liara, the young heir of the Valari kingdom, stood poised with grace. Her violet eyes scanned the crowd, her long silvery robes catching the artificial sunlight streaming through the station's dome. Around her, alien warriors in intricate armor formed a protective circle, and in the center a ceremonial duel was about to unfold. The challenger was a member of a rival faction, a warrior from the outskirts of the Valari colonies. His movements were precise, trained for this very moment. In his hand glinted a blade, its edge reflecting the station's lights like liquid fire. Liara's life hung in the balance not by accident but by tradition. Among the Valari, honor was absolute, and disputes often ended in ceremonial combat. Lieutenant Marcus Kane had come to the station not for ceremony, but for security. A human soldier in the Galactic Defense Force, Marcus had faced hostile aliens, deadly ships, and uncharted planets. Humans, known across star systems for their resourcefulness, adaptability, and courage, were often underestimated. Marcus had learned to use that underestimation to his advantage. Today, however, he faced a challenge unlike any he had encountered before. As the duel began, Marcus's sharp eyes caught the faint twitch of the challenger's wrist, a motion almost too small to notice. But he noticed. In a split second, he realized what was about to happen. The blade was aimed not at the competitor but directly at Princess Liara. Without a thought, Marcus stepped forward. His body moved on instinct. Time seemed to stretch, each heartbeat loud and distinct. He threw himself in front of the princess, raising his arms just in time. The blade struck his armor with a sharp clang, and pain shot through his shoulder. The crowd gasped. Even the challenger froze, astonished by the human's sudden action. Marcus's training took over. He held the princess back with one hand and steadied himself with the other. His heart pounded, but his mind was clear. Liara, wide-eyed and shocked, looked up at him, her usual composure gone. "Why?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Marcus didn't answer immediately. He simply nodded, a small grim smile playing on his lips. "It's my job," he said quietly. "No one should die if I can stop it." The crowd was silent, and then a murmur ran through the plaza. Among the Valari, saving a royal's life was more than an act of courage. It was a bond, a life debt. The person who saved a royal owed their life to that royal forever, and the debt demanded service, loyalty, and honor. Liara stepped back, still holding her breath. She turned to the elders who presided over the ceremony. "This human," she said, her voice steadying, "has saved my life. The tradition of the life debt applies. He must accept the consequences." Marcus blinked, the weight of the tradition settling on him. He had faced hostile planets and deadly creatures, but a life debt was a commitment like no other. It could mean months or even years of dangerous missions on behalf of the Valari kingdom. And yet he felt no fear. Humans thrived on challenges. They excelled where others hesitated. "I understand," Marcus said simply, his voice calm. "I will honor the debt." Liara's eyes softened, though her mind raced. She had never expected a human to act so boldly, to place themselves in harm's way without hesitation. She saw courage not just as strength but as instinct. Marcus had acted without thought for reward, without thought for recognition. He had acted purely because it was right. The Valari elders nodded. One of them, a tall figure with golden markings across his face, stepped forward. "Then it is done. The life debt is recognized. You, human, are bound to the princess. Your deeds will now reflect your honor." Marcus bowed slightly, a gesture of respect both for the tradition and the young princess. Around him, the crowd slowly began to clap, alien and human alike, recognizing a moment that would be remembered in the station's history. But celebration was brief. A sharp alarm cut through the plaza, startling everyone. Red lights flashed, and the station's intercom crackled. "Incoming fleet detected. Unknown hostile ships approaching at high velocity. All defense units prepare for engagement." Marcus's instincts kicked in again. The life debt had only begun, but already it demanded more than ceremony. He turned to Liara, who looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and worry. "You saved me," she said softly. Now, I suppose, I must save you in return. Marcus shook his head. No, we fight together. His voice carried the weight of promise. I won't let anything happen to you. Not while I can stop it. In the moments that followed, Marcus and Liara moved to a command deck overlooking the station's docking bay. They joined the station's defenders, humans and aliens working side by side preparing for the approaching fleet. Marcus immediately noticed the differences in tactics and approach between species. The Volari preferred rigid formations and strict commands. Humans were flexible, adaptive, improvising with every unexpected twist. Humans are unpredictable, a Volari officer whispered to Liara. That one might be more trouble than help. Liara shook her head. No, he is exactly what we need. The first warning blips appeared on the screen. Small, fast ships were entering the station's perimeter. Marcus leaned forward, analyzing the incoming data. They're scouts, he said. Not the main fleet, but they're testing us. They're looking for weak points. If we react too rigidly, they'll exploit us. Liara watched him, fascinated. Marcus's mind worked differently, combining strategy with instinct. She realized that the human's unpredictability wasn't a flaw. It was a strength. The station's alarms rang louder as more ships emerged. Marcus grabbed a console, issuing orders to coordinate human and Volari fighters. His voice was firm but calm, cutting through panic. Deploy the interceptors. Focus on the small ships first. Don't waste energy on the scouts. Use them to find the main fleet's pattern. The Volari officers exchanged uncertain glances, then obeyed. The first wave of scouts engaged with the station's fighters, and Marcus's strategy unfolded perfectly. By observing the scouts' behavior, they could anticipate the fleet's attack formation. Liara stepped closer, her hand brushing against Marcus's armor. You're different, she said quietly. Marcus glanced at her. I don't know if it's different, I just do what I think will work. He smiled faintly. Humans survive because we adapt. We find ways to win, even against impossible odds. The fleet outside was still distant, but Marcus could feel the tension building. This was only the beginning. The life debt had placed him in the middle of a new world of responsibility, danger, and expectation. But he did not fear it. Humans faced impossible odds every day, and they thrived. As the sun, or what passed for a sun in orbit, glinted off the station's hull, Marcus and Liara looked out at the approaching darkness. Both knew that the coming battles would test more than skill. They would test loyalty, courage, and the very heart of what it meant to be alive in a galaxy full of endless possibilities. Marcus clenched his fists, feeling the weight of his armor and the weight of responsibility. No matter what comes, he said, we'll face it together. Liara nodded, her violet eyes reflecting both fear and determination. Together, she agreed. The first shots of the scouts streaked across space and the station's defenses sprang to life. The life debt tradition, the human courage, and the coming battle had intertwined. This was just the beginning of a story that would be remembered across stars. The station was alive with activity. The alarms had not stopped since the first scouts appeared, and humans and Volari soldiers moved quickly through the corridors, coordinating defenses. The docking bays were crowded with fighters, technicians, and commanders, all preparing for the incoming hostile fleet. Marcus Kane moved with purpose. Despite the chaos, he remained calm, his human mind analyzing every detail. Sensors on the command deck displayed dozens of ships entering the system. But he focused on patterns rather than panic. He noted the ship's speed, their formation, and the slight hesitation in their movement, a signature of scouting maneuvers. Liara appeared beside him, her violet eyes still wide with the mixture of fear and awe. I never imagined humans could react so fast, she said. Your mind works differently, faster, smarter in moments like this. Marcus shook his head slightly, smiling faintly. Not faster, just different. Humans adapt. We don't rely on tradition the way some species do. We improvise. Liara studied him closely. She had grown up with strict rules, strict training, and strict expectations. But Marcus seemed to thrive in chaos. He wasn't reckless, he was deliberate. And in his eyes, she saw the courage she had only read about in history books. You saved my life, she said quietly, almost to herself. Now you will help save many others. Marcus nodded. We do it together. I'm not here for glory. I'm here because it's right. The first wave of enemy scouts reached the outer shields. The station's human-piloted interceptors launched in perfect coordination, guided by Marcus's tactical instructions. Alien gunners manned the turrets with precision, though some hesitated at Marcus's unconventional commands. Focus fire on the left flank, he called. Use their speed against them. Force them into the narrow corridor near Docking Bay 4. That's where they're weakest. The Valari officers hesitated, but Liara stepped forward. Do it, she ordered. Trust him. His plan works. The fleet responded as Marcus predicted. The scouts were funneled toward the narrow corridor, where human fighters and Valari turrets ambushed them. Explosions streaked across the viewport. The first wave was destroyed in minutes, just as Marcus had calculated. The command deck erupted in murmurs of astonishment. Alien officers exchanged looks, realizing the human soldier was not only capable but brilliant in battle. Marcus ignored the praise. There was no time for celebration. He was already scanning the next wave of ships. You anticipate every move, Liara said, her voice barely audible over the alarms. It's like you can see the future. Marcus gave a small, wry smile. Not the future. Just patterns. Every action has a reaction. Once you see the pattern, the rest follows. Liara nodded, impressed. She had known humans were brave, but she had not understood the depth of their ingenuity. Marcus was more than brave. He was a strategist, a leader, and now a protector. As the station continued to repel the first scouts, the higher council of Valari elders called an emergency meeting. Liara insisted Marcus attend, though he preferred the front lines. In the council chamber, alien leaders gathered, their expressions grave. We face more than scouts, one elder said. Sensors detect a large fleet beyond the asteroid belt. They move fast and their numbers are unknown. If they reach Kalaira, it could mean war. Marcus listened quietly. Then he asked a question that made the room go silent. What if we don't wait for them to arrive? What if we strike first? Gather intelligence and take advantage of their weaknesses before they reach the station? The council frowned. Valari culture valued careful planning and formal strategy. Preemptive attacks were risky and often dishonorable. But Liara spoke up. He is right, she said. Humans do not rely on tradition alone. They use intuition, speed, and adaptability. We must consider his plan. Marcus quickly outlined a strategy. We take a small elite team, human and Valari soldiers together. We board one of their ships. Gather information. Sabotage if possible. We return before the main fleet reaches us. Minimal risk if we act smart. The council debated, some skeptical of using a human-led strike team, others recognizing the logic in Marcus's words. Finally, they agreed, but with conditions. Marcus would lead the mission, but he would be accompanied by Liara herself to maintain the honor and oversight of Valari tradition. The team assembled quickly. Human soldiers trained in infiltration and combat joined Valari warriors skilled in precision and endurance. The atmosphere was tense. Many Valari soldiers had never worked directly with humans in such dangerous missions. Some looked at Marcus with suspicion, while others simply watched with curiosity. As they prepared to board the small scout ship that would take them to the enemy, Marcus spoke to the team. Stay alert. Follow instructions, but remember, adapt. Situations change fast and hesitation can cost lives. Trust your instincts, trust each other, and we'll succeed. Liara stepped beside him. And remember, honor guides us. But courage will see us through. The team departed in silence, the hum of the ship's engines blending with the tension in their hearts. Marcus piloted the vessel toward the enemy fleet, relying on his intuition to navigate asteroid fields and debris. The enemy ships were powerful, but their patterns were predictable. Marcus used this knowledge to avoid detection and approach the lead ship. Once near the lead ship, Marcus ordered the team to suit up for boarding. Human and Valari soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, weapons at the ready. Liara joined them, her ceremonial robes replaced with armor suitable for battle. The princess, who had once been saved, now prepared to fight alongside the human who had protected her life. The docking sequence was tense. Sensors showed enemy guards patrolling the corridors, but Marcus's planning allowed the team to slip inside undetected. They moved like shadows, silent and precise. In the heart of the enemy ship, Marcus found the main control room. He analyzed the data on the ship's systems, discovering troop movements, communication codes, and weapon locations. This was valuable information that could save countless lives if they returned safely. Suddenly, an alarm blared. They had been detected. Enemy soldiers poured into the corridor, weapons ready. Marcus raised his hand. Positions. Hold them until I create a distraction. With quick thinking, he triggered a series of electrical panels, sending sparks and smoke through the corridor. The enemy soldiers faltered, giving the team the chance to strike efficiently. Liara used her agility to disable several guards without lethal force, showing Marcus that courage came in many forms. Not just brute strength, the team completed their mission, gathering critical intelligence and sabotaging the enemy ship's propulsion systems. Marcus led the return to their vessel with careful precision. The enemy ship, damaged and slowed, would be unable to reach the station in time. As they traveled back to the station, the team breathed easier. They had faced danger together and survived, human and Valari soldiers learning to trust each other. Marcus glanced at Liara, who gave him a nod of respect. "You lead well," she said, "not because you are human, but because you understand courage and honor." "That is true leadership," Marcus smiled faintly. "We all did our part. That's what matters. Humans, Valari, it doesn't matter. We work together. We survive together." The station came into view, lights blinking against the dark space. The first wave of the enemy fleet had been delayed, but the main fleet was still approaching. Marcus knew this was only the beginning of a much larger conflict. Yet as he prepared for the next challenge, one thought stayed in his mind. Humans were not only capable of survival, they were capable of greatness. And when courage, loyalty, and intelligence combined, even the most dangerous enemy could be outsmarted. Liara, standing beside him, reflected on the human beside her. Saving her life had been the beginning, but now, Marcus had shown that humans were more than warriors. They were partners, leaders, and symbols of hope in a galaxy that often underestimated them. As the fleet drew closer, Marcus set his jaw and tightened his grip on the controls. "We face what comes," he said, his voice firm, "and we will prevail together." Liara smiled, her violet eyes bright with determination. "Together," she repeated. The station braced for the next wave, and Marcus knew the real battle was only beginning. But with human courage and alien loyalty combined, they had already taken the first step toward victory. The aftermath of the first battle left the space station buzzing with activity. Repairs were underway on the outer shields, and human and Valari soldiers worked side by side to restore the station to full operational capacity. The enemy scouts had been defeated, and the main fleet was still days away, but the station's leaders knew the war was far from over. Amid the activity, Liara approached Marcus Kane in the command deck. Her violet eyes were steady, her posture regal yet relaxed. "Marcus," she said, "you have proven your courage and skill. But the life debt tradition demands more than acts of bravery in battle. You must undertake the trial of honor." Marcus raised an eyebrow. He had expected dangerous missions, but a trial? "What kind of trial?" he asked, curiosity mixed with caution. Liara gestured to a holographic map of the nearby star systems. "The Trial of Honor is a series of tests designed to measure a warrior's intelligence, courage, loyalty, and adaptability. It is not meant to be easy. Those who pass are recognized as true protectors of the Valari kingdom. Those who fail are dishonored." Marcus's lips curved into a faint smile. Humans thrived on challenges, on tests that others deemed impossible. "Then we start," he said simply. Liara led him to a training chamber where alien warriors and human soldiers alike had gathered. The first test was mental, a puzzle designed to simulate a tactical scenario where the life of a royal depended on quick decision-making and problem-solving. Marcus studied the holographic simulation, noting the patterns in enemy movement, predicting weak points and calculating outcomes. Minutes passed, then moments. Marcus's mind worked like a well-oiled machine, processing possibilities faster than the simulation expected. He adjusted strategies, shifting resources, and issuing commands, and when the simulation ended, Liara's eyes widened. "You have completed the first test faster than any Valari warrior in recent history," she said. The elder overseeing the trial nodded in agreement, a rare smile crossing his face. Marcus shrugged. Humans are used to thinking on their feet. Adaptation is survival. The second test was physical, a demonstration of agility, endurance, and strength. Marcus and Liara were paired together, and the challenge involved navigating a complex obstacle course while under simulated fire from enemy drones. Valari warriors moved with precision, their actions fluid but practiced. Marcus, in contrast, improvised at every turn, using walls, rails, and momentum to outmaneuver the drones. Liara watched closely, noticing how Marcus anticipated each obstacle, adjusted his movements mid-air, and protected those around him. When a drone threatened to strike one of the Valari soldiers, Marcus dove, intercepting it with his body and disabling the drone with a precise strike. By the end of the obstacle course, Marcus stood unscathed, panting lightly but smiling. Liara approached him, admiration evident in her gaze. You do more than survive, she said. You protect. That is courage. The third test was perhaps the most difficult. Marcus and Liara were sent to a derelict space station orbiting a nearby asteroid. The station had been abandoned for decades, and rumors said it was haunted by rogue security bots still following old commands. Their mission: retrieve a data core containing crucial information about enemy movements, then escape without being detected or harmed. Marcus studied the station's schematics before boarding. We need stealth, observation, and timing, he said. We move slowly, anticipate traps, and use the environment to our advantage. Liara followed his lead, her confidence growing as she witnessed his calm decisiveness. They entered the station through a maintenance hatch, moving silently down dark corridors. Sensors flickered and the eerie hum of the station echoed around them. Rogue security bots activated as they approached the core's chamber. Red lights scanned the hallways, detecting movement. Marcus ducked behind a console, signaling Liara to do the same. He observed the bot's patrol pattern and calculated the optimal path. Wait for the third pass, then sprint to the corner. I'll disable the main security panel. Cover me if needed. Liara nodded, trusting him completely. They moved in perfect coordination, Marcus's human intuition guiding them through a labyrinth of danger. When a bot aimed directly at Liara, Marcus leaped forward, using his body as a shield and knocking the machine offline. Finally, they reached the chamber and retrieved the data core. Marcus secured it, checking their exit route. The return was tense, with bots activating again, but Marcus's strategic thinking allowed them to escape without further harm. Back on the space station, the Council praised their success. Few Valari warriors have succeeded in the Trial of Honor, one elder said. Yet you, human, have completed every challenge with skill and bravery. Marcus shook his head. I didn't do it alone. Liara and the team worked with me. That is what matters. Survival and success come from cooperation, not pride. Liara's eyes softened. You are teaching me something as well, Marcus. Courage is not just about risking life in battle. It is about thinking, adapting, and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The fourth test was a simulation of moral decision-making. The holographic projection showed a civilian colony under attack. Marcus was given limited resources and had to decide how to save as many lives as possible. Some choices favored humans, some favored Valari, some risked both. Marcus carefully weighed each option, considering the consequences. He chose to deploy defenses in a way that protected the civilians while minimizing casualties among his soldiers. The simulation ended, showing high survival rates across all groups. Liara studied the results, impressed. You are fair and thoughtful, she said. Humans value life differently. They calculate the cost of every action, not just the glory. Marcus nodded. That is how we survive. Every life matters. We cannot afford carelessness. The final test was the ultimate challenge. A live combat exercise against elite Valari warriors, simulating a real battle scenario. Marcus and Liara led a small squad, facing an overwhelming number of opponents. The exercise tested strategy, leadership, courage, and quick thinking under extreme pressure. The battle was intense. Marcus coordinated movements, improvised strategies, and used every skill at his disposal. Liara fought beside him, amazed at his precision, adaptability, and instinctive understanding of the battlefield. They outmaneuvered the Valari warriors at every turn, turning what seemed like certain defeat into a well-earned victory. When the exercise ended, Marcus stood among the exhausted but triumphant soldiers. Liara approached him, her expression proud. You have completed the Trial of Honor, Marcus Kane. You are recognized as a true protector of the Valari kingdom. Marcus smiled faintly, brushing dust from his armor. I did what I had to do. That is all any soldier can do. The elders nodded, acknowledging his success. Your human qualities, adaptability, courage, and wisdom are not weaknesses. They are strengths that inspire all who serve with you. You have proven that life debt is not just a tradition, but a bond that unites civilizations. Liara's gaze met his, a spark of understanding passing between them. You have shown me that humans are not just warriors. They are thinkers, leaders, and protectors, and I am honored to call you my ally. Marcus felt a sense of pride, not for himself but for the human race. They had survived, adapted, and excelled once again. The Trial of Honor had tested his courage, intelligence, and loyalty, and he had passed not through raw strength alone, but through ingenuity, strategy, and heart. Yet, Marcus knew the real challenge was only beginning. The enemy fleet was still approaching, stronger and larger than before. The skills he had proven in the trial would soon be tested in real combat, against enemies who would not hold back. He looked at Liara and the team around him, seeing the determination in their eyes. They were ready to face the future together, a combination of human ingenuity and Valari tradition. Marcus took a deep breath. We've proven ourselves in tests. Now we'll prove ourselves in battle, and we'll do it together. Liara nodded, her expression resolute. Together, Marcus. We will face whatever comes, and we will succeed. The trial of honor had ended, but the true battle was just beginning. Humans and Valari, united by courage, loyalty, and trust, would face the enemy fleet head-on. Marcus Kane, the human who had jumped in front of a blade to save a princess, was no longer just a soldier. He was a symbol of hope, a bridge between civilizations, and a living example of the power of the human spirit. And in the quiet moments before the next mission, Marcus allowed himself a rare thought. Humans could survive anywhere. They could thrive anywhere. And when they faced impossible odds, they did not just endure, they excelled. The dark expanse of space outside the station was alive with movement. The main fleet had finally arrived. Hundreds of enemy ships glimmered against the void, their engines leaving trails like silver fire. The space station braced itself, shields flaring as weapon systems came online. Human and Valari soldiers prepared for the battle that would decide the fate of the system. Marcus Kane stood on the command deck, his eyes scanning the displays. Every sensor, every reading was analyzed in seconds. The enemy ships moved with precision, but Marcus noticed patterns in their approach. Small changes in formation, subtle adjustments in speed. These were clues to their strategy. Liara joined him, standing tall despite the tension. "Are we ready?" she asked, her voice steady. Marcus nodded. "We have to be. But remember, this is not just about strength. It's about strategy, adaptation, and courage. We fight smart, not just hard." The station's fleet moved into position. Human pilots gripped their controls tightly, their nerves taut but steady. Valari gunners manned turrets with practiced precision, yet some hesitated at Marcus's unconventional commands. He had learned to use hesitation to his advantage, trusting in human unpredictability to create opportunities. "Focus fire on the left flank first," Marcus instructed. "Use their speed against them. Drive them into the asteroid field. Narrow space, fewer options for their larger ships." Liara watched as the plan unfolded. The left flank of the enemy fleet was forced into a tight corridor near a dense asteroid belt. The human fighters darted in and out, their movements unpredictable, striking at vulnerable points while evading enemy fire. Valari turrets, guided by Marcus's instructions, tore through enemy ships with deadly accuracy. Explosions lit the void like fireworks. The first wave of the enemy fleet was destroyed, their ships broken and scattered. The command deck erupted with cheers, though Marcus remained focused. This was only the beginning. The enemy commander, a large and imposing alien named Soren, had anticipated the human-led resistance. He shifted his main fleet into a new formation, larger ships moving to the front, firing long-range weapons that threatened to pierce the station's shields. Marcus adjusted tactics immediately. Deploy the interceptors in a diamond formation. Use the outer shields as cover and lure them into crossfire. Focus on disabling their engines, not destroying ships unnecessarily. We need survivors for intelligence. Liara watched him, impressed by his calm under pressure. Humans, she realized, had a way of seeing the bigger picture even when danger was immediate. Marcus wasn't just reacting. He was predicting, calculating, and guiding everyone around him. The battle intensified. Enemy fire struck the station's shields and alarms blared. Smoke-filled corridors, warning lights flashed, and the smell of burning circuits drifted through the air. Marcus coordinated every movement, using human ingenuity to outthink a larger, more experienced fleet. A group of Valari gunners hesitated as a massive enemy cruiser approached. Marcus shouted over the comms, "Focus! Aim for the weak point below the bridge. Timing is everything." The gunners obeyed. The cruiser's engines faltered under precise fire, slowing it down and allowing human fighters to flank it. In minutes, the massive ship was disabled, drifting helplessly into the asteroid field. Liara could not help but smile despite the chaos. "Your strategy? It works because you see what others cannot," she said. "Humans are unpredictable in the best way." Marcus shook his head slightly. "It's not luck. It's observation, adaptation, and courage. We act when others hesitate. That's how we survive. Meanwhile, Marcus noticed a squad of smaller enemy ships attempting to flank the station from the rear. He quickly devised a plan. Deploy drones with magnetic nets, he ordered. Force them into the gravity wells near the mining ring. They can't maneuver there easily. Cut off their escape. The plan worked perfectly. The enemy ships caught in the magnetic nets crashed against the asteroids. Marcus's human-led tactics had turned the tide once again. As the battle raged on, Marcus received a distress signal from a Valari colony ship under attack. Civilians were at risk. Without hesitation, he redirected a squad of human fighters to assist. Using speed and unconventional maneuvers, they intercepted the attackers and protected the colony. Liara, observing Marcus's actions, realized the full depth of his courage. It was not just battlefield bravery, it was selflessness. Marcus risked himself not for glory but to protect life. That was a quality she had seldom seen, even among the bravest Valari warriors. The battle continued for hours, but Marcus's strategy held. The enemy fleet, though larger and more powerful, could not match the adaptability and ingenuity of the combined human and Valari forces. Finally, Soren's command ship approached the station directly, signaling an attempt at boarding. Marcus immediately prepared a counterplan. We don't fight them head-on. Use the station's energy fields to repel their approach. Human fighters flank the command ship. Liara, lead your squad on defense inside the docking bay. The plan was daring. The enemy commander was skilled, but Marcus anticipated every move. Human fighters weaved between energy beams, striking critical points on the command ship while avoiding destruction. Valari soldiers, led by Liara, protected the station's interior, ensuring no breaches occurred. In the final moments, Marcus saw an opening. Using the station's energy systems, he created a controlled pulse that disabled the enemy ship's shields temporarily. Human and Valari forces struck simultaneously, and the command ship was forced to retreat. The battle was won. The enemy fleet, battered and demoralized, fled into the void, leaving the station and surrounding colonies safe. The command deck erupted in cheers, the human and Valari soldiers celebrating their hard-fought victory. Liara approached Marcus, her violet eyes shining with pride. You have not only fulfilled your life debt, she said. You have proven that humans are more than warriors, they are leaders, strategists, and protectors. Your courage has inspired everyone here. Marcus shook his head, smiling faintly. We all did this together. Humans, Valari, it doesn't matter. Courage and loyalty are what matter. That's how we win. The Valari elders who had once doubted human capabilities now nodded in respect. Marcus Kane, one elder said, you have proven that life debt is more than tradition. It is a bond that unites civilizations. Humans are indeed worthy allies. Liara stood beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. This victory is just the beginning, she said. But with humans by our side, we can face anything. Your courage, Marcus, has shown us a new path. One where humans and Valari fight not just for survival, but for unity. Marcus looked out at the dark expanse of space. The enemy fleet was gone for now, but the galaxy remained full of threats. Yet he felt no fear. Humans thrived on challenges, and they had proven once again that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could overcome even the most impossible odds. As the crew repaired the station and tended to the wounded, Marcus allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. The life debt tradition, once seen as a burden, had become a bridge between species. Through it, humans had shown their strength, not just in combat but in leadership, strategy, and heart. Liara watched him, a smile playing on her lips. You have changed my understanding of humans, she said softly. You have changed my understanding of courage. Marcus returned her smile. We all learn from each other. That is what makes us strong, not just one race, but together, united. The stars shimmered outside the station, calm and silent after the storm of battle. But Marcus knew this was only the beginning. New threats would emerge, and the galaxy would challenge them again. Yet he felt confident. Humans could survive, adapt, and excel. And when they worked with others, Valari or any ally, their courage could change the course of history. Liara stood beside him, her hand resting lightly on the console. Together, she said, echoing the words Marcus had spoken before the battle. Together, Marcus replied. And as the station repaired and the fleet regrouped, both human and Valari knew that they were stronger for it. They had faced impossible odds, and through courage, strategy, and unity, they had prevailed. The battle for unity had been won. not just by firepower but by the human spirit shining brightly in the darkness of space. The station finally returned to a fragile calm. The enemy fleet had been repelled, but the memory of the battle lingered in every corridor. Smoke and sparks from damaged systems had been cleared, but the human and Valari soldiers still felt the weight of what they had faced. Lives had been saved, but the galaxy remained vast and unpredictable. Marcus Kane walked through the corridors observing the crew at work. Human soldiers repaired equipment, their movements efficient and precise. Valari warriors moved alongside them, exchanging nods of respect with their human counterparts. It was a rare sight, a union forged not just through orders but through shared courage and survival. Liara approached him, her violet eyes reflecting both exhaustion and pride. "The battle is over, Marcus," she said softly. "But your journey is not. The life debt has been repaid, but your influence, your example is only beginning." Marcus smiled faintly. "The life debt was never just about me. It was about trust, courage, and unity. Humans and Valari working together can achieve far more than either alone." Liara studied him, realizing the depth of what he had accomplished. Saving her life had been the beginning. But Marcus had done far more. He had inspired an entire station, changed minds, and proven that human qualities could shine even in alien traditions. The Valari elders called a meeting to recognize Marcus formally. In the Grand Chamber, alien leaders stood in ceremonial robes, their faces a mixture of solemnity and respect. Liara stood beside Marcus, her hand resting lightly on his arm as a sign of both gratitude and recognition. "Marcus Kane," one elder said, voice echoing in the chamber, "you have not only fulfilled your life debt, but you have surpassed all expectations. You have proven that courage, loyalty, and ingenuity are virtues that transcend species. The Valari Kingdom recognizes your contributions, and you shall be honored as a true protector of the realm." Marcus bowed his head slightly. "I am honored," he said simply. "But the real honor goes to every soldier who stood with me. Humans, Valari, we fought together. That is what matters." The elder nodded, understanding the truth in his words. "It is rare to find a leader who values unity over glory. You have taught us much, human. Your spirit will be remembered across our histories." Outside the chamber, Marcus and Liara walked together along the station's observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before them, quiet after the storm of battle. The fleet had been driven back and the station was secure, but the galaxy remained full of potential threats. Liara spoke, her voice reflective. "Humans, you are remarkable. Your courage is obvious, but your thinking, your adaptability, it is inspiring. I have learned more from you than I ever imagined I could from my own people." Marcus shrugged, smiling faintly. "Humans survive because we learn, adapt, and act when others hesitate. Courage alone isn't enough. You need wisdom, cooperation, and trust. That is how we endure." They paused at the observation window, looking at the distant stars. Marcus thought of the challenges ahead. The galaxy would always be full of dangers, mysteries, and battles. But humans, he knew, would continue to rise to the occasion. Suddenly, a transmission arrived from a nearby colony system. A minor threat had been detected. Pirates attempting to seize resources from an unprotected settlement. Marcus turned to Liara. "Shall we respond?" he asked. Liara smiled, her trust in him evident. "Lead the mission," she said. "Show them what humans are capable of." The mission was swift but precise. Marcus coordinated human and Valari forces to intercept the pirates. Using speed, intelligence, and unpredictability, they neutralized the threat without unnecessary destruction. Civilians were saved, resources were protected, and the small fleet returned to the station with minimal risk. Liara watched Marcus, impressed yet unsurprised. "Everywhere you go you inspire," she said. "Not just with your strength, but with your mind and your heart." Marcus shook his head. "It's not inspiration I seek. It's results. Protect life. Solve problems, adapt, that is what humans do. That is what all of us must do." As the days passed, Marcus became a symbol, not just to the Valari but to humans across the galaxy. Reports of his bravery, strategy, and selflessness spread. Humans, once underestimated, were now recognized as capable allies and protectors, not just soldiers. Liara initiated reforms within her kingdom, inspired by Marcus's example. The life debt tradition, once rigid and hierarchical, was adjusted to emphasize shared honor, trust, and cooperation, rather than blind loyalty. Humans were now valued partners, their courage and ingenuity celebrated, not questioned. Marcus, however, remained humble. He spent his days training soldiers, advising commanders, and preparing for future threats. He never sought recognition. For him, the victories were never about glory. They were about protection, adaptation, and unity. One evening, Marcus and Liara returned to the observation deck. The station was quiet, the stars stretching endlessly. Liara leaned against the railing. "Do you ever worry," she asked softly, "that humans will be overwhelmed? That your spirit might not be enough?" Marcus shook his head. "Humans don't rely on strength alone. We rely on thinking, courage, and trust. And we learn from others. I am not alone. Humans are not alone. Together we can face anything." Liara smiled, understanding now why Marcus had been so effective. Courage, adaptability, and cooperation were not just human traits. They were universal strengths, and when combined, they could overcome even the most impossible odds. The quiet moment was interrupted by a comms alert. Another threat had emerged. A large alien vessel, unknown in design, approaching a neighboring system. Marcus stood, already analyzing the readings. Liara placed a hand on his shoulder. "Go," she said. "Lead them as you have led us. Show them what humans are capable of." Marcus nodded, determination flashing in his eyes. "We will meet them head-on. Together, humans and Valari, and anyone willing to fight for life and honor." As he prepared for the new mission, Marcus reflected on the journey that had begun with a single, instinctive act, stepping in front of a blade to save a princess. That moment had forged bonds, inspired trust, and revealed the best of humanity. From a simple act of courage had grown a legacy that would endure across stars. Humans had been underestimated for centuries. But through courage, ingenuity, and loyalty, they had shown that even in a galaxy full of strange worlds, dangerous enemies, and complex traditions, the human spirit could not just survive, it could lead, inspire, and unite. Liara watched him from the observation deck, realizing the full depth of what had occurred. Marcus Kane was more than a soldier. He was a symbol of hope, a bridge between civilizations, proof that humans could excel where others might fail. As the stars gleamed in silence, Marcus felt a quiet pride, not in himself, but in humanity. They had faced impossible odds, fought together with alien allies, and proven that courage, wisdom, and unity were stronger than fear or tradition. The galaxy was vast, and challenges would continue to come. But humans, Marcus knew, would continue to rise. They would adapt. They would protect. They would excel. And when they did, they would leave a legacy that shone across the stars. Liara joined him at the railing. "What now?" she asked. Marcus looked out at the endless void. "Now, we continue. We protect, we lead, we inspire. Humans have always done it, and we will keep doing it wherever we are needed." She smiled, a spark of admiration in her eyes. "I am honored to fight beside you, Marcus Kane. Humanity is truly remarkable." Marcus returned her smile. "And together, we are unstoppable." The stars stretched on before them, silent witnesses to the courage, ingenuity, and heart of humans. From a single act of selflessness to the unity of entire fleets, Marcus Kane had shown that humans could not only survive, but they could thrive. The legacy of the human spirit was alive, shining brightly, and ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy would throw next. And as the station hummed with life, preparing for future battles and missions, Marcus Kane knew one thing for certain: humans, with their courage, wisdom, and adaptability, were not just participants in the galaxy, they were a force to be reckoned with. The human spirit would endure. The human spirit would inspire. The human spirit would lead, and the stars themselves would remember.